A very happy Actuaries Day to all of you over here. I hope people are, having this post-lunch session. It's normally a very daunting task to have a post-lunch session for anything. Even it's as much daunting for the presenter as it is for the people who are attending it. I promise I'm not going to kind of extend it for a very long time. I'm going to kind of keep it very sweet and short. And as you kind of move through it, you'll come to know that data science as such is not so much of an esoteric term as is understood or felt to be. It's pretty simple, but not as simple as saying that there's data and then there is science. There is a little bit more to it, and that's what we are kind of going to know in a little while from now. So my screen is visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, great. So I'm basically going to kind of talk about data science in the context of how evolution of the humankind has happened. The reason being, if humans weren't there, data science as such wouldn't be there. And you'll come to know as to why am I saying this as we move ahead. Before I kind of move ahead, I'll quickly give you a quick perspective of what I've been doing and what I was doing in the past. So as Shalini pointed out, 20 years, more than 20 years in various industries, including FMCG, foods and beverages, IT consulting, pharmaceuticals, to name a few. Handled or rather supported a lot of functions like sales, marketing. I was head of analytics and insights function in various companies, which included Sanofi Aventis, Godrej, and Heinz India. So these are the people who marketed Complan some time ago. An integral part of strategy planning departments as such, primarily because you're as part of analytics and insights function, you tend to be a part of strategy planning, and so for that matter, corporate planning as well. So you tend to also provide tactical support to finance, demand planning, IT and HR departments within your company. And I have expertise in various fields, including marketing, consumer psychology, warehousing, service management. And of late, I've also kind of taken the role of machine learning and a data science trainer as well. I have my own outfit, which is the Crimson Crow Advisory, which is primarily a business consulting firm. So what it means is it's basically you have an intangible product with tangible outcomes. And as a result, you always tend to say that you always contemplate to energize, because you have a tangible outcome and that needs to deliver measurable results. So having said that, that being a primary professional profile, having entered the zone of a trainer or the machine learning and the data science perspective coming into play, I felt it was my own duty as such to start imparting some knowledge back to the industry and back to the people who are upcoming budding professionals. And as a result of that, I do have my own YouTube channel, which is Learning Puri, and that's where I do a lot of activity insofar as statistics and data science beginner tutorials are concerned. So let's move on, taking one step ahead. Let's look at what was happening in the evolution of humankind. So basically, we were cave dwellers some time ago, and as we moved on ahead, we became a bit more refined. However, what we would see all through this period is, even as cave dwellers, the primary problem that we had to face was hunger, the solution being food, and the means being hunting. Additionally, we also had some problems related to the safety of our own life from predators that roamed the wild. Let's move ahead, further ahead into the current era, and we still see that the problem is still hunger, the solution is still food. Now the means is actually money. But now here comes the additional problem, which is safety of your own job from lost business. So when I say lost business, if you're working with someone working for someone, then in that case, what happens is, if you're not performing, if that business is not performing, then in that case, you tend to be at the receiving end of a lot of things, including your own finances. If you're having your own business, the same situation applies to you, right? So evolution has happened, but now we are seeing the same problem, but the means and some additional problems are a little bit different. How does it tie up? Let's see as we move ahead. So as we evolved, the data as such also evolved. Now, how did it evolve? So we started off with something which was primarily numeric by nature. When we say numeric, I believe you understand what it means. It's all numbers. Then came text. Now, what can you kind of call as textual data? You've got WhatsApp and so on and so forth. You've got so much social media chatter that's going on online right now, be it Twitter or be it any other channel, which could be online reviews that you keep putting up on Amazon and such other sites. Having said that, you also have now something which is more image related stuff which is coming in. Now, what is image related stuff? So Instagram is a very good example of image related data. You've got tons and tons of images which are alongside textual data communicating something to you. Places where the text is not communicating, the image itself communicates to you in some way or the other. It tries to communicate with you at emotional levels as well. And that is data, and that data also needs to be understood and further processed. As we moved ahead, there came voice into picture. When I say voice, there could be music, there could be general voice that is being clips that are being uploaded, whether it be WhatsApp, be it any other medium. You will always have some kind of voice or music data coming up. And once that is there, the next level was video. YouTube being a very good example. So also Instagram, wherein you have Instagram TV, wherein you have audio and video both coming into play. As data evolved, you had an explosion of data. And what I mean over here is I'm going to show some figures. I'm going to restrict myself to lesser figures in this entire presentation. However, there are some figures which I would like to share, and these are slightly dated figures. As of now, as of this second, these figures would have probably gone 100, 200 fold. So we are looking at Google being primarily, the search engine or the engine for actually this explosion of data, alongside so many other channels of data. So you've got over 400 million search queries that are happening now. I would say I would replace that per minute by per second. Similarly, with the case of 2 million searches, queries being changed over to per second level. Statistics by IBM has actually kind of come back and said that there's over 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. Understand what is a quintillion? We already have some perspective of just million. Quintillion is furthermore set of zeros added to it. And this is only in the past 2 years. And this contributes more than 90% of the data in the world today. As we look at the explosion of data, we also saw some amount of evolution in technology. And what is this evolution? So going back to not so much of a Jurassic age, but yeah, going back maybe 10, 12, 20 years back in time, we were doing a lot of things manually by using calculators. Then came Excel, courtesy Microsoft. And of course, Apple was very much there with their own avatar of Excel in place. And now you've got SAS, SPSS, and SPSS is something which a lot of people would know over here. People from the social sciences background, people from statistics background would definitely know what SPSS means. And yes, R and Python as programming languages. As we are speaking about these languages, there is Julia, which is another language which is coming up in a pretty big way. And maybe the next presentation that I might have to add another comma and a Julia insert happening over there. So as we moved ahead in technology, and as it moved ahead insofar as the data is concerned, the type of data is concerned, we still, when we go back to our own current origins, we still now have to look at the perspective of our problem of hunger, and solution being food and means being the money. And if we need to kind of save our jobs, or rather I would say, if we want to keep saving our businesses, then we are looking at something which is increased sales for the business. Increased sales means increased revenues, increased profits. Profits in the sense that if you're able to taper down your costs, yes, your profits will increase. And as a result of that, as a combined effect of this entire perspective, entire effort that is being undertaken, you are going to be happy, the business is going to be happy. That is going to address this problem of job safety. That is further going to address your problem of money. And more so true in today's time, when we know that there are enormous amount of jobs losses that have happened, primarily because um, organizations have not been sustainable enough in this current environment. And I wouldn't blame them, primarily because the environment is such, the entire sales have tapered off. But yes, you can always have a safety, a security net in form of an insurance, built within that business. And that comes only when you've started addressing the business problems pretty much in advance, so that you secure your future. And that's exactly what we do even in insurance, right? So we are assessing risks and trying to kind of cater for those risks in the current time, so that when we are actually coming face to face with a risk, we are actually trying to mitigate this by our efforts which have been taken in the past. Having said that, once you look at addressing business issues, you would try to inculcate or try to infuse a whole lot of intelligence, your own intelligence, which comes along with your own experience, and which comes along by your own data churning, which comes along with your amount of analytical perspective that you infuse into it, and that rigor that you infuse into it. You would try to increase your business value, right? That's the primary thing that you would want to do. You would try to increase your degree of intelligence, and at the same time try to provide as much value to the business, so that your business does not suffer, and as a result you do not suffer in some way or the other. Taking that, you can start looking at this entire spectrum on various levels. So what has happened is, earlier we used to ask questions as to what happened. What do you mean by what happened? So let's take an example of soaps, right? Soaps, if they are not selling, loss of sales, that's what's happened, right? Now when you move to the next level, once you know what has happened, how much has happened, how often is it happening, where is it happening? So is it a specific territory, is it a specific region? So is it specific to, let's say, the north of India? Is it specific to the east of India? Okay, even if it is, let's say, specific to north of India, whether it is Delhi, UP, Bihar, let's say if it is specific to west of India, whether it is Maharashtra, whether it is Gujarat, these kind of questions that would need to get answered. And that's where you start looking at drilling down and trying to answer where exactly is the problem. Now when you move into that particular area, you will start looking at, when you say exactly what that problem is, whether it's your own users who are kind of moving out of your entire portfolio, or is it that there is someone else who's trying to come and undercut you. Now there are so many other things. So one is a sales perspective that comes into play, and then there is a competition perspective that comes into play. So sales, when I say sales, primarily because your product itself is defective. Competition, primarily because the competition is doing something much more much better than what you're doing. Once you start looking at these things, we are now looking at addressing specifics, like what kind of actions are needed. Here is a time when the intervention comes into play, wherein you either try to pick up your own data, which is coming up from your own sales data, your own channels from where you're picking up this data, Additionally, you could also employ something like a primary research or a primary research agency, like AC Nielsen for that matter, or Indian Market Research Bureau, IMRB. These are the people who will carry out specific focused researches for you to capture that primary data for that specific problem and try to help you answer some of the questions. What kind of questions would you want to answer? Why is this happening? Whether, as I said, whether it is a sales related issue or it's a competition related issue are things that you would want to do or want to look at. What if this continues? Where will I be? Will I be in really dire straits? Or is it a temporary phenomena that I need to just kind of sail through? Or I need to do something else? And that's where we start looking at what are the various things that could happen next. And as a result of that, what's the best that can happen now? So what is it that may happen? So what kind of risks are we risks that are staring us in our face? And as a result of that, what is it that I can do right now to mitigate those risks? So if you really see this entire spectrum, the lower end of the spectrum largely is where the business intelligence, so to speak, terminology plays. The upper end of the spectrum is where business analytics comes into play, and business analytics actually moves very stealthily, very cleverly, very smoothly into data science. And that's where I would like to kind of bring into play terminologies like business analytics and data science. I would like to introduce them to you. So basically what is happening is we are moving from descriptive perspective to diagnostic perspective, and further into predictive perspective and prescription. So basically this entire journey in that has also evolved from description to prescription. Once we have now looked at how this entire journey is, has kind of panned out itself insofar as evolution of data is concerned, evolution of technology is concerned, looking at perspective from the business point of view is concerned, we are now looking at evolution in the language of analysis. So a lot of people who are more than 15 years of age in the industry would really appreciate this to a large extent, but I would still like to introduce this to you because this perspective needs to be understood even by the current generation. And the perspective is people have moved from statistical and mathematical analysis to a more modern avatar, which is data science. And the moment we enter into this zone, this entire realm of data science, we need to start defining what is data science. And as data science came into perspective, as data science came into focus, there were very many people who wanted to kind of define data science in their very many ways. And yes, there are many ways in which data science can be defined. Very interesting one is the first one, which talks about interdisciplinary disciplinary fields. Sorry, but it sounds so much like a literature-based kind of a person. I'm reminded of a certain honorable politician who tends to play with words and really kind of rejoices in usage of these words. But data science, again, do not get overwhelmed by these words. Do not get overwhelmed by these definitions. Data science, very simply put, is actually an amalgamation of three primary fields. And yes, to a great extent, the interdisciplinary approach comes into play. So what are these fields? Computer science, or sometimes people call it IT. Maths and stats, that's what you study. Domain and business knowledge. So for actuaries, it will be more of that actuaries related domain. For, let's say, a marketing person, it will be more of the marketing domain, marketing or the sales domain. For a finance guy, it will be more of the finance domain, so on and so forth. So data science is not restricted only to these. There's so much amount of plethora. There's an entire spectrum of industries in which you can apply data science, and we will come to it as we start looking at some of these examples as we move ahead. I have actually looked at even the intersection of some of these fields. So when we are looking at something like a computer science field and mathematics and statistics, we are looking primarily at something called as machine learning. The reason why I'm looking and taking some time out to explain this part is, uh, as we move ahead later on, what kind of opportunities lie for you insofar as data science is concerned will also become clear when you start looking at. So please do spend some time in understanding this particular slide. Computer science is largely talking about various languages like R, Python, which come into play. Analytics related perspective, which is SAS, which is SPSS, which comes into play. So SAS also has a programming level. SPSS also has a programming level. So understand that once you're looking at a primary core programming perspective and fusing it with maths and stats, you are primarily looking at the machine learning domain. Now let's move on to the next part, which is the maths and stats part and the business knowledge domain. And here's where traditional research, here's where social sciences based research comes into play. Here's where a whole lot of data mining based perspective comes into play. So let's say you are a marketing guy and you also have a maths and statistics background to a great extent, and you start putting together mathematical and statistical analysis. Here is where you are talking about traditional research. You carry out primary research, you carry out secondary research, which could be retail audit data, and try to pull out some information by carrying out primary preliminary analysis on that data. Again, all this to solve a business problem. Going back to those previous slides, we are all in the zone, in the area, in the arena of solving a business problem. If you look at computer science primarily and only the domain, then here comes your app and software development. Here is where a whole lot of ERP comes into play. Here is where a whole lot of either web-based or mobile-based apps come into play. So there are people who are aware of a particular domain and they are pretty much into programming. They can develop these apps. The sweet spot is when all these three come together, and that's where the birth of data science comes into play. So what is data science when we look at it as a process? Pretty simple again. You start off, as I said, with a particular business problem. To understand that problem in its thoroughty, in its entirety, you need to understand the business as such. You need to understand what are the process flows in that particular business. You need to understand who are the factors who are playing, or critical factors who are undertaking actions as a result of which it's affecting your business. Now, these factors could be internal to the business or it could be external to the business. Once you've understood that particular problem, once you've given a clear cut outline to that entire problem, we are now in a process, we are now in a stage wherein we start defining the analytical approach for that particular problem. Now, what could be that analytical approach? Here is where you start asking questions. What kind of data should I look at? Where will I see this data? Do I need to process that data? This is a primarily thought-based approach. It's a planning-based approach. Here is where you start putting things on paper and start defining, okay, do I need some kind of customer segmentation? Do I need clustering? Do I need linear regression? Do I need XYZ? You're just planning it out. You're just thinking it through. You're not doing anything apart from thinking, because 99% part of your time you spend in thinking, you will spend less time in actually executing it later on. Once that's done, you are looking at collecting your data. What are those, as in those data requirements will get spawned up based on what your analytical approach would be. What kind of data collection methods would you use, whether it is primary data collection or it's secondary data collection. Primary data collection is all the market research, consumer surveys that are happening, all those kind of web-based surveys that are happening, all that kind of data which is picked up by the IoT devices. All that data is all primary data. Secondary data is all that data which is picked up by secondary sources which have already done the data collection for you. These could be sources, as I said, like retail audit data which comes from AC Nielsen, CSIR data which is picked up by the Statistical Institute. Once that is done, the data will not always be in the kind of in that format that you require. The data could have different types of variables. What are different types of variables? There will be categorical variables or numerical variables. Now, you can't use categorical variables in numerical data unless there is some amount of pre-preparation and processing that happens. What is categorical variable? So if I say, what kind of ice cream would you prefer? And you would say chocolate, someone would say strawberry, someone would say vanilla. I can't number it. I can't say one means chocolate, two means, one for that matter could mean strawberry as well. So that categorical data has to be also put into a format that the machine understands. Machine understands figures. Machine understands numerics. That is entirely called as a data preparation process. Then you start putting together the entire modeling perspective, which is where the analytical planning has already boiled in. So your models are done. So let's say a regression model. So you are figured out what is the dependent variable and what are the independent variables, and how do these independent variables affect the dependent variable, with what kind of weight. And then you start evaluating this entire story. So let's say a particular, so we started off by saying a soap was suffering from sales, whether it's the product, so whether there were some basic issues with the product, or whether there was some advertising that the competition was undertaking, or whether the consumer preferences themselves have changed. So these are some of the factors, parameters that would feed into, you know, the sales of that particular soap dropping. And that's the evaluation stage. Once you evaluated the entire story, you are now start looking at how do you start tracking this entire story. And that's where the deployment comes into play. So what happens is, okay, fine, today you have resolved a problem related to sales. What if it comes up later on in your future? Which means you need to start monitoring, you need to start tracking this entire sales perspective. And as a result of that, there is a deployment of the data science solution. Once this data science solution is deployed, again, this is through the IT platforms. You now get into the feedback mechanism, which is wherein you are now looking at continuous improvement, picked up from this analysis. And this analysis is further going to feed into your business understanding to further check whether this problem was resolved or not resolved. So whether it's similar to, you have very hot water in a tub and you want it to kind of make it come to a temperature which is something which is bearable by your body. And here is where you keep adding cold water, right? You start to normalize that temperature in such a way that your body is able to accept it. This entire mechanism comes into play, wherein how much should I feed back? What should I feed back into the business understanding insofar as that specific business problem is concerned? And yes, this entire process, therefore, is something laid out over here. A whole lot of, as I said, it's a process. It's a field which is being used across the industry. And yes, banks, insurance companies, credit rating companies, marketing, manufacturing companies, logistics companies, all of them are into this. All of them are utilizing data science in some way or the other to address these business problems. Whilst we are at on this particular point of addressing business problems, let's look at what actuarial science is. And I'm sure you would have a better definition than what I've put up over here. This is the most simplistic definition that I found. The definition, interestingly, talks about mathematics and statistics. It also talks about the business, and it also talks about addressing the problem inside the business. Nothing different as insofar as data science is concerned. So a whole lot of synergies between actuarial sciences and data science are already established right up front, considering that you're already in that field. So what are the various applications in actuarial sciences wherein you can use data science? Proposal acceptance. So we are looking at, let's say a life insurance kind of a proposal coming up. A life insurance company already has an entire huge amount of database of various people who are insured. And using that database, they also know people who have defaulted, people who have renewed, people who have used that insurance, people who have committed frauds. All this information is there. So a new person comes up, should I hand out a new insurance policy to this person? Now, this will be applicable whether it is life insurance or it is, let's say, general insurance like automotive insurance as well. Should I hand out a policy to him? What is the risk? All these things are taken care of by that machine learning algorithm within the data science perspective. Claims prediction. So yes, claims is a reality in insurance, right? So what would you do? You would try to figure out which type of group is actually coming out with claims, what kind of claims, how much is the amount of these claims, how much affected is the group. And as a result of that, you start getting some perspective, future perspective of what kind of financial risk as a company, as an insurance company, are you going to face. As a result of that, how do you plow it back into your own operational area insofar as your investments are concerned to mitigate that risk? And that's how data science looks at actuarial sciences, or for that matter, how it comes into play in an insurance company from a claims prediction perspective. Customer segmentation is a largely marketing perspective, but yes, still very much a part of actuarial sciences. What kind of human life value are you bringing to the table, and what is the kind of risk that you are facing? Just looking at these specific factors, you can start segmenting customers from a general gamut of customers who are unidentifiable into different slots, different quadrants. You wouldn't want to really approach a person with a very high risk. But yes, there could be some scenarios wherein if the person has a good amount of customer value to him, yes, his risk is very high. Now, who would fall into into these kind of zones? Let's say you're looking at an actor, a cinema actor. He has a huge amount of value that he has, net worth that he has accumulated over a period of time. But what is the risk? Risk is at any point in time, he can be a flop. At any point in time, anything can happen to his life. Let's say he's conducting some kind of a stunt, injures himself in such a way, such a bad way. You can take the example of Christopher Reeves, the old Superman, the first so to say Superman of Hollywood. He actually injured his back and he's paralyzed from neck downwards, and till date he's still in a wheelchair, right? So we are really talking about these kind of risk, and as a result of that, you start segmenting so that you can start cross-selling as well. So if you are a part of an outfit like, let's say, HDFC, who is into insurance and into banking as well, then how do you cross-sell? How do you make the most of your own customers? Please understand, insurance is the most and the least sought after product in India today. What I understand, the penetration. So penetration is a different perspective. It's a different story. It is still less than 10% right now in India, which means you've got 90% room to grow. Just imagine the amount of potential that insurance has in India. That can be addressed, by putting data science to a proper perspective, putting data science to a proper use in your industry. Recommendation engines are one of those things. So how many people have seen CoverFox? You start once you start looking at insurance policy online, you'll start seeing that too much amount of data gets thrown at you. Go on to Facebook, see the amount of recommendations that get thrown at you. If you bought this, please buy that. Similarly, even insurance has gone into this addiction of, if you already know this, or if you're searching for this, please buy this as well. This is exactly what recommendation engines do, and recommendation engines are built by data science models. This is whole lot of futuristic outlook towards actuarial sciences being used in the industry. We are looking at driving usage based auto insurance. So we are looking at IoT devices being installed inside passenger or commercial vehicles, and seeing the amount of risk that particular vehicle or that particular person is exposed to, and as a result of that, trying to sort of predict and also look at what kind of damage costs, and as a result of that, what kind of premiums should I charge. So no longer the time of flat premiums. So this being the vehicle, this being the person, flat premium. Normally what happens is you will see a lot different premium uh, being handed out to users in Mumbai or Kochi. These are places largely which are close to the sea. Rusting is pretty high. Yeah, there are companies like Volkswagen which are doing anti-rust coatings. They are pre-building anti-rust into their bodies, but still the risk still there is there, right? So you're looking at further future technology evolving in such a way wherein data science with IoT devices is being taken to a different level altogether. These are just some of those perspectives. These are some of those applications wherein data science can be used in actual sciences. There are a few more in other industries. Churn prediction of users amongst mobile users. So let's say you are a Vodafone user. What is the probability that you will move out of Vodafone Idea into, let's say, Airtel, or for that matter, Jio? This is the primary concern of all telecom companies. And they have huge amount of data residing with them. And they are trying to figure out what is that particular parameter which will help reduce this churn, will help reduce mobile portability happening from my service to someone else. Benefit segmentation. So I mentioned about a point in the soaps example, that a consumer's requirements have changed. So let's say if you are looking at really smooth skin, fair skin in today's context, maybe that may not be as much relevant tomorrow, especially with all these what do you call those activist groups in play which are against fair skin advertising. I'm sure people will go back to your natural skin days. And yes, once you move into that, you're really talking about benefits that one can derive from that particular product. Now, I've just taken the example of soap primarily because it's a little bit more easier. Now you can apply to anything. You can apply to even automotive, cars. Uh, what kind of benefits? Safety belts. There was a time when safety belts were being offered by only few car manufacturers like Ford back in the past. Today, almost any Tom, Dick, and Harry is offering safety belts. So you can, with use of data science, analyzing this huge amount of customer data, consumer data that is available with you, start looking at various other applications. And I'm just giving you an example. We are just touching not even the tip of the iceberg, because if I really start putting together a whole gamut of applications related to data science, I don't think so this session is going to be enough at all for it. Object identification, people know about it. Google has started already rolled out. Tesla has rolled out self-driving cars. That is where huge influx and infusion of data science is already there. Today, a camera can identify whether it's a car, cycle, a dog, or a human being. As simple as that. Medical diagnostics. And yes, AI, which is again a higher form of data science being used, is being used as on date today to identify COVID patients. It was used in the past already by looking at retinal scans to through diabetic retinopathy to identify whether a person suffers or is at a risk of diabetes. Today, the advancement as on date has happened to this extent that breast cancer can be detected 5 years before it can actually be hit. So just taking mammograms and studying them. So what happens is in the Western countries, a lot of women are advised after a specific age, normally 35 onwards, they're advised to undertake a mammography every other year or every 2 years or so. so on. That data is collected, and that data is matched with a whole huge amount of other data that is already there in the system. And the risk of a breast cancer happening in future for this lady is predetermined much in advance. And now you would ask me, how good would this be? Medical field would be really happy to keep rolling out medicines. No, they have managed to identify this risk to 99.5% of accuracy, which is a huge amount of accuracy, which is a huge amount of um, workable efficiency over that of a human being. Understand that we are already moving further and further ahead every second into this, into advancement in the field of data sciences. Forensics. You would not believe the amount of crime analysis, criminology analysis that can be undertaken with data. US, FBI, all these people are already using it. They've gone into the next realm of using data science into forensics. Kidnapping and trafficking of children is another big issue which has started coming up, and data science has helped in identifying places. So if someone wanted to kind of have a look at it, you could go online and look at, there is a app called as a Khojo, Khojo app, which is wherein people have, the person has gotten in touch with the Hyderabad police, and they are trying to actively identify children who have been kidnapped for various reasons, very very bad reasons for which children are being kind of kidnapped. You would be surprised, people are asked as a part of crowdsourcing to put up pictures, photographs of these hotels that they live in onto a net, onto a particular site. Why? Because trafficking has also been, or rather is being used for child pornography, and pretty often these bad acts are committed in these hotels. Data science, through this entire mechanism, is able to identify which hotel, and as a result of that, the time, as a result of that, you can actually zero down into that particular hotel premises, pick up those records, and children, yes, have been rescued. There have been instances wherein children have been rescued using this technology. So imagine, we are already into that zone, into that realm. And as we move ahead, farming too. So crop diseases. So there is an app which is mobile based. You can just click the photograph of a particular disease on your crop, and that app can immediately throw up what kind of a disease is this particular crop suffering from, and what are the mitigating factors, what are the mitigating solutions for it. So whether you need to spray it immediately or whether you need to do something else. And yes, it can identify a viral attack against an insect attack against only a simple damage. It is that sensitive. And as the future pans out, we are looking at artificial intelligence robots. I'm sure people are aware of Sophia the robot. This was something which was premiered, I believe, a couple of years ago in the Dubai Festival. Recently, Lynx is one robo which they are touting to be probably the next police, or the robotic police, so to speak, that Dubai might want to consider. Augmented reality is just one more arena. And yes, this is not some picture I have kind of picked up. This is a picture from an actual surgeon's table wherein he's looking at the MRI of that particular individual before a neurosurgery is undertaken. And this is happening in 3D space, which is the augmented reality space. So this is how data science has actually moved itself. It has kind of advanced. It has kind of further refined itself into various realms, various industries. So having said that, what kind of jobs can you expect in data science? Data science being one. an engineer's, data engineer's job, analyst, or a machine learning engineer. So now you will be asking me a question, who the hell are these 4 different people? I have no clue, because all seems like, data science. Don't worry about it. Here is where we can kind of start looking at it. So we are looking at a data scientist, by and large, who's looking at all these options, right from, the first, right from programming to machine learning, all these options. He's really into it to a great extent. He's more than knee deep into all these perspectives. Software engineering is where he starts looking at programming. It's not that he's not doing it, but he's doing it to a little bit more than moderate levels. He's not the guy who's into huge amount of programming. He's actually using packages to address these issues. Because again, let's look at it. If a data science guy, a data scientist needs to address a problem, then in that case, he needs to look at implementing solutions pretty quickly, and he needs to save that time. So a data engineer would be more into those programming tools. He would more into be more into data wrangling, or what is called as data mining, and the software part of it. He'll be more into the software perspective. A machine learning engineer, more of tools, more of intuition and statistics in comparison with a data engineer. So he will be doing a whole more lot of BI tools, whole more lot of visualization tools, alongside machine learning and stats. And a data analyst is primarily a visualization guy. He would be largely looking at Tableau and these kind of tools. To some extent, yes, R and some other tools he would be using. But yes, his role is largely restricted to that space. The moment you remove all these restrictions is when you start looking at a data scientist. So basically, that's all about what data science is, simply put, where data science is being utilized, what is the future for data science, what kind of jobs you could expect, what kind of roles you could expect in the data science field, and depending on your own passion for a particular job, you could opt for that specific kind of a job, provided you've got those specific skills that you picked up. And one point to note in this entire discussion is, please understand, data science is not a standalone silo. It is not actuarial sciences which stands alone. It's not statistics which stands alone. It's not physics which stands alone. It is one perspective wherein we are integrating everything. And please understand, today we are moving, as a future, we are moving aggressively into integrated learning, integrated academics, and nothing more of a better example than the current new education policy which has been rolled out, wherein integration, multidisciplinary integration, is something which is being touted and which is being promoted, and it is going to get promoted. It's a very good thing, primarily because business does not require actuaries guy. Business does not require statistician. Yes, as an initial standpoint, to get an entry into that business, yes, that's what you will define you, or that's what will get you into that particular zone. But once you are inside a business, you are nothing less than only a solution consultant, a problem solver, nothing else. And to solve a problem, you really need to have a very holistic and integrated perspective of the business that you're in. Yeah. Having said that, never stop learning, because life will never stop teaching. As an interesting quote by Brian Herbert, where he says that capacity to learn is a gift, ability to learn is a skill, but to learn and willingness to learn is a choice that is completely in your hands. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day.